Welcome back, my friends, to our regular podcast, Three Old Friends, The Music Never Ends. As you know, we've been doing this we're coming up on almost 2 years now. And we got to the point where we had done 46 playlists and well over 750 songs that we had selected. So we said, well, maybe this is a good time to take a little bit of a pause and what I decided, I came up with the idea to maybe do the best of each of our songs, or whatever. So each of us had put on about 250 songs. So if we do a best of David and have 15 songs, then I would choose five, Mike would choose five, Jose would choose five, but they were all the original selections that I chose when we first did the playlist. And then we do the same thing with Mike's playlist. Each of us picking the songs that we like the most or that were inspirational to us or whatever, and see how we build three playlists. Rather than doing three different podcasts, we're going to jam it all into one podcast and do each one back to back to back in this one podcast. So before we get into the actual my playlist, Dave's best, I thought I would turn it over to Mike and to Jose just to see what you guys think about the format we're doing here and what we've been doing the last couple of years.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I like this. I will. I don't know that I said this. I was initially skeptical because basically, on the format of this particular one is basically we're going over songs we've already talked about, but there actually is a lot kind of revealed looking at the big picture of this stuff. And it's nice revisiting these songs, and we'll talk about this maybe more in a little bit, but you can tell how we've all changed looking at this list, even kind of going back to the first things, but also we have a couple of songs on here from one from the archives, one from the vaults back in 87 or 88 or something. And we're definitely, we're the same, but we're different, So I liked it. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because I like revisiting these songs because these are songs that we have discovered or we knew, like Mike pointed out, that we've known some that we've heard thousands of times, but we've also been turned on to songs that either Mike has liked or I've liked it as we go down different playlists. And that it does show a little bit of us, and we learn a little bit about each other over those last 30 years that we weren't really that connected, so to speak. I mean, we've always been friends, but there's been intermittent times where it's been a little longer. So the last 2 years have been just fantastic in the sense that, oh yeah, this is what Dave's listened to, this is what Mike has heard, and so it was just a great way to revisit them. And like I said, just fun to, when you hear that song, especially, it reminds you of some of the playlists that we've made. And so, oh, that's right, I remember that playlist. That playlist was really great. Or that song was really great, or every time you hear that song, it evokes some sort of an emotional response, or just because you love the song. So,
well, back when we originally put on these songs, and we've talked about them, there were times where each of us got pretty excited about a song, right? Like, or we would say, man, that was my favorite song on that playlist, or where'd that come from? And that happened over and over and over again. And I thought, you know what, if we go back and revisit, we're probably going to pull a lot of those types of songs from it because it was new, it was fresh, or it was something that we were surprised a little bit by. But I think when you're doing a best of playlist, sometimes it can be a little clunky too. You're just kind of picking songs at random or whatever. But the flow of actually this playlist, the best of Dave, and then all the other ones, there was actually a pretty good flow to the songs and how we did them. So I'll jump into my playlist first, the best of. For me, what I decided to do was probably pick 2 or 3 artists for sure that I'd said they've got to be on this list. Whether Mike picks them or whether Jose picks them, I don't care. I'm going with the ones that I just love the most. And then I'll pick one, since I probably played multiple songs by that artist, let me pick one of the songs that I want to put on it. So I led off with Dan Fogelberg, and leader of the band, just because he's one of my favorite artists. And then that's where the fun begins. So I do that. it brings me back to my father. It's always just a favorite song of mine. But then you sit here, and I don't know if Mike or Jose will capture the same feeling. But then after that, you go, I wonder what they're going to pick. And then when Mike puts on the next song, or Jose puts on the next song, and you know they're the songs that you originally picked, there's something, I don't know, cathartic about it. It's like, wow, yeah, they picked that one, or they picked that one. And so anyway, I kicked it off, and then we kind of went from there. We're going to kind of jump around a little bit, but a lot of my favorites ended up on the playlist. And I will say that there's only one or two where I went, oh, I don't know if I would have picked that one. Because again, out of 250 songs, there were bound to be some that I went, yeah, I put that one on, but I probably don't want to listen to that one again. Or it's just not a great song, or not a favorite of mine. Maybe it fit the theme at the time, but it wouldn't maybe make my best stuff.
Yeah, I like everything on your list. I never have quite gotten into the Christina song.
I love that song.
I know you guys do. I don't
That is
know.
my favorite song on this whole playlist for some reason.
I'm
I
sure
don't know
it
what,
is.
it just
I'm
checks all the,
glad you went with it, because it was on my short list.
it just checks all the boxes for me. It's quirky, it has horns, it's a fun little ditty, it tells a little story. I don't know. Yeah, it's not the greatest song in the world. And of course, who are they? Catch 22, is it Elton John or Billy Joel or anybody like that, or anyone I've ever even heard of? But it's like, to me, when I listen to it, it's kind of like the English Beat. It's just this quirky, fun-loving song that, I don't know, every time I hear it, it just, again, that's why we have different tastes, that's why the playlist is so good, because for some reason, every time I hear that song, I never get tired of it. I just think it's such a good, and then the horns in the middle of it and things like that. So go ahead, Mike, I apologize.
Oh, no, you don't need to apologize. And if I initially wasn't even gonna say something like this, it's not that I don't like the song. It's just not, it's, I don't know. It's just not, and I can't even explain why, because I like ska, and it's a fun song. I don't know. Maybe I said too much. Let's back up and start over. No,
So what about the Elton John? You know I love Elton John, and for whatever reason, we've only put like 2 or 3 songs on over
Yeah.
all the list. But I was excited when you picked the Elton John song.
Well, and the thing about that song, there's a few on here that you guys put on your various things, or on ones that I put up that I'm like, I really got into them, and it was bands I knew, and like Elton John, I know his music. And what album is this on? Rock of the Whiskies, yeah. I never had that one, and so I didn't really know this song. And you said something when you put it on, or when we were talking about, you really like the chord changes. And I think that's a big part of it. I really, really like the arrangement. It's maybe, I don't know, it's hard to say one favorite song on here, but it is probably tied for my favorite on here, because it's just something about it. Every time I hear it, it hasn't gotten old. And I know it's an old song, but probably more than 50 years old right now. But yeah, so and of course the historical reference, gun of John Ford. You'd have to, if you didn't know anything about Jesse James, you might have to do a little research. Did I say John Ford?
Yeah.
I knew I was going to do that. Robert Ford. Yeah, John Ford's a director. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
but the song is about Bernie Taupin divorcing his wife, leaving his wife, and that's why he feels like he's the bullet, like he's cold and calculating, and
Yeah.
So but not that. Of course, the movie The Assassination of Robert Ford or Jesse James is something to watch. But yeah, anything else?
So on the Christina one, I like the horns, but I like the fact that each one does a solo, like 5 or 6 different, and then they go to the guitar too. I think that's a cool thing. But so when you put that on, I know we had it on the Funky Good Times or playlist or whatever. And then so I was trying to think of, this is the only area where I had a little bit of a, why did I put that next song on? And so I put Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing, and I only put it on because they have that line in there that says, don't give a damn about any trumpet playing band. And I thought that was funny right after that. But I love Dire Straits. You all love Dire Straits. So I said, I want to get that on there. And then Mike followed it with the Zanzibar, which was pretty cool, which is not one of Billy Joel's most, popular songs, but definitely one of my favorites on the playlist for sure.
Yeah, when you picked that one too, I remember zeroing in on that one and liking it. And I think it's well, there's this, so there's we talked about this before, like a bridge or whatever, little instrumental part with the trumpet, and there's some other stuff, which is really cool. And then yeah, what's it I've got my father's car or whatever it is. I got a jazz guitar. I like that part for some reason. Just
Well,
so, I don't know.
Well, Jose's gonna, like it too, because now we got the Rose reference in there again, right?
Right, the Yankees, it's baseball.
That's right.
I can never go wrong with any of
Now,
that.
now Rose is eligible.
I'm not gonna get started on that. But a very unpopular opinion about that, so I just don't think he should be in, but that's just me. But actually, I don't care if he is in or not, as long as they identify that he was a gambler and he gambled on his team. And because let's face it, he lied for 14 years and then wrote a book and said, "Oh, sorry, I lied about it." But dude, just come clean at the beginning. And I'm always a proponent, and it was proven right. If he would have just made a deal with you, Ross, stayed out a year, he could have been Giselle. But he wanted to think he was bigger than the game. And this is what you get.
I love the fact that it's a period song when it was written, right? And we talked about this before, but it's like Rose, he knows he's such a credit to the game, but the Yankees steal the headlines every time. He's not. That was back. He was a credit to the game when the song was written.
That's right.
He went had all the other stuff. So I think it's pretty funny that we look back on it. So kind of did that, and then we kind of changed tunes a little bit. Jose went with Letters from Home from our war album, right? Our war playlist, and that was one of my favorites too. Want to talk about that one?
Oh yeah, it's my second favorite song. It just captures an essence of war, and it's always funny. I always say this. First of all, let me just say the war playlist I think is one of my top 5 favorites that we've done. Just a lot of emotional songs on there, but it's always weird that, and I'm a little hypocritical in the fact that I love to watch war movies, but when you watch war movies, you realize how hard war really is and how it is, and yet for some reason I'm attracted to the war movies. And this song is one of those that captures the true essence of it. I think the people, they all want to act brave, and you're brave out there, and you have to have it. But in reality, A Letter from Home, really melts all that away. You can't show it. No one wants to show it. Sure, there are warriors out there, but for the most part, these are the guys on the front lines who have to deal with that. So I'm glad John Michael Montgomery. This is the whole thing about the playlist is, these are guys I'd never have listened to if it weren't for this.
I would say the same thing about this particular song. I've heard the name, but it would have never gotten onto my radar if we hadn't done this. And I will say the same thing I did when we first did. Well, good choice, Jose. But when we first did this, I mentioned that I teared up listening to it, and listened to it the other day. It had been a while since I listened. I really like the war one too, but sometimes it's just kind of, especially in times of concern about war and a son of a certain age, it's kind of maybe not the favorite topic. But when his dad in the song writes the letter, that gets me every time. Yeah, I'm not too proud to say I shed a tear, but good choice.
Well, that song, and then the next 2 songs, Letters from Home by John Michael Montgomery, and then Cheyenne Anthem by Kansas. Again, I don't put a lot of Kansas out there, but it just felt like I needed a song after that, Letters from Home. And there's war in that song as well, and death. And then Mike came in with Enough to Be on Your Way, which is a James Taylor song. It talks about the death and funeral of his brother. So I think all 3 of those songs kind of went pretty cool together, and flowed well. You're right. We have some of our favorite playlists. We're going to probably have to do a rank order at some point of all the favorite playlists and kind of put them in order, or which ones do we like the most. But we may see from just this best of which ones had maybe multiple selections on them. And I know on Mike's best of, there was another selection from the war playlist as well. So, but
Can I-
yeah, I like the Kansas and Steve Walsh and the vocal on that, and you probably see a similar theme. But I like songs that kind of build on each other. It's not just verse, chorus, verse. You know, it kind of builds, and there's different parts of the song, and that's what Cheyenne Anthem does. And I always love James Taylor. So thanks for putting on the James Taylor song too, Mike. Just one of my favorites.
Yeah, Cheyenne Anthem is a cool song. It is. It's like a multi-part thing, and it's weird. The first thing I think of when I hear it, the starting out part, reminds me a little bit of Genesis. I think it's the keyboards or synthesizer or whatever, and a little bit of the arrangement. I can't think of the name of the song, but it's something off of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Has at least a hint of a similar arrangement there. And then Enough to Be on Your Way. That's another one that tears me up. It's like, man, we put some heavy stuff on, but they're great songs. And that one is just so beautiful. You know, it's moving what he went through, you know, and he's like, sounds like he's coming to terms with it. He's being open about this experience, but just the arrangement, I mean, in a way only James Taylor could do. I love that song.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you guys are both, I think, bigger James Taylor fans than I am. Not that I don't like James Taylor, but you know, I get, and of course, that song especially, if you've lost a brother, which I have, it's not the easiest song to get through sometimes, but it's a beautiful, beautiful song, and it's, you know, and a tribute. And I'll just add for Kansas is, like I said, probably the American progressive rock band that we never knew. So, I mean, we've known the hits, but that song it stacks up against any Yes, any King Crimson, any kind of song like that. So, always good choice. And like I said, you know, James Taylor, you reacquaint yourself with James Taylor with these playlists, and you guys have both, you know, and have put multiple songs on. I don't think I've used a James Taylor song, so.
So if there was a song on this whole playlist that I said that I thought out of my 250 songs that I thought Jose is going to zero in on this one, the next song is that one. A Pirate Looks at 40. It's a Jimmy Buffett song, but it was redone by Jack Johnson and Dave Matthews, I think, or something. And I think at the time when we played it, I could tell that when I put it on that Jose really liked it a lot. And I had a feeling that he was going to pull this one out of the archive and put it on. It's a live version. It's a pretty cool tune. So what'd you guys think?
Wow.
Yeah, I think I knew the song. I definitely I mean, the original, the Jimmy Buffett, but it never really caught my ear. And there's something about this, both Jack Johnson and Dave Matthews' voices, they just really kind of fit the song. And yeah, I love it when I only had a time to listen to this all the way through once, because we just kind of finished this a couple of days ago. But I repeated, that's one that I kind of repeated a couple of times. So good song.
Well, I think it's just reflective, and yeah, Dave, you know that I love songs like that. It's reflective because we are older, and you know, we're not at 40, we're at 60. So, but it's a reflective song that really kind of suits, well, at least suits me. You know, there's a lot of things that are good about it, and it's just a great song. And again, that's one of the reasons these playlists work so well is, you know, the things that you discover. I mean, again, I'm not breaking out Jack Johnson. Sure, I've heard of Jack Johnson, and obviously you've heard of Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds. I actually have a couple of boots from them, but I'd never heard this song. But once you hear it, you know, you're hooked. So.
Well, the beauty of this playlist and the best of is that, you know, like I said at the beginning, I could pick a few of my artists that I just absolutely have to get on here, but I can also pick Mike's favorite artist and I can pick Jose's favorite artist, because if we put those on a playlist at some point, it's fair game. And so even though Jose had put on probably 6 or 7 Fish songs and some Grateful Dead and some Trey Anastasios, and he's been pounding us with that. There was an opportunity where I put on a Fish song, and it's a recent one, and it's one of my favorites now. So I put on Evolve off their most recent album, and I knew Jose would like it, but it's also going to make it on my best stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm most likely seeing Fish next week. Jury's still out, but, and so I'm pretty optimistic they will play this song.
They haven't played the first 2 nights. Always count on that.
But yeah, it's a cool song. You know, it's a version of the creation story, and my favorite line in there still is people have their worries, and I'm not going to say it exactly right, worries and hope that don't mean a thing if they just knew the scope. You know, that kind of says it all. It's like, yeah, I'm so stressed out because my son did something that really bothers me, you know, and even in the course of a day, it doesn't really matter much. If I really had, which no human ever will, at least in this lifetime, a glimpse at what everything is out there. We're just little ants, and our worries are the worries of an ant, you know, it just are a microscopic thing. So I love that line.
Yeah, it's like Dave alluded to earlier, you know, you anticipate what people are going to play and you hope that they connect with your music at some point, you know, and I think we've all done that on the various playlists. And of course, yes, I pound y'all with Fish. Yes, I'm part of the cult, so to speak. And you just never know how that's going to go over simply because, hey, you know, Fish isn't for everyone. I understand that, but because I'm so biased, you're just like, how could you not like Fish? So I'm glad that Dave was like, is Dave ever gonna like, you know, as we started this 2 years ago, you know, would these guys even want to listen to Fish? Because I put it on there and then they look at me like I'm some sort of nut job, like, hey, he's just drinking the Fish Kool-Aid. Why does he keep playing these horrible Fish songs? But instead, I'm glad that you all have embraced it, you know, at least, and are willing to go to a show. Again, it's one of those things that, like Dave said, you know, you just don't know how they're going to react to your music, you know. And it's been 30 years, and you know, it could have gone either way, but I'm glad it went this way.
I will say, if Petrichor wasn't 13 minutes, I might have put it on. So there's about 4 or 5 songs left. We've got a few minutes left on this. We'll wrap it up, but maybe we could just talk about those. So we had You Want It Darker by Leonard Cohen. What If There Were No Sides at All by Bryan Adams. Women in Texas, my favorite, Jerry Jeff Walker. Summer Breeze by Seals and Croft, and Set Fire to the Rain. Jose finished up with Adele. Out of those 5, the only thing I would say is I was not expecting the Leonard Cohen. We put it on a Halloween one, on a kind of a spooky one. But as I listened to this playlist a couple times, I'm glad you put it on, Mike, because it's just a cool, haunting song, and Leonard Cohen's low voice and everything with it, and really all the songs that you guys put on the remainder of the playlist were great choices. Again, it wasn't that maybe I didn't expect the Bryan Adams or the Leonard Cohen one, but it's all good. It flows real well, and it makes for a great playlist. Before I finish, so I had to put on Jerry Jeff Walker, and I put on several songs. So I'm like, what is my favorite? And I actually went back to the very first playlist that we did, and I don't think we did not do a podcast on it. We just did a playlist, and it was like 21 songs. That was our first test. I call it test number 0 and whatever. And it was my first song of any selection of any song that I put on was that Jerry Jeff Walker Woman in Texas song. So I'm like, I'm going to go back to it because there's a reason why I started with that one. It's just one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I'm glad we have a couple of songs that were off that -1 playlist or playlist 0, whatever. And it's you really do like the Jerry Jeff Walker, and I do too. And my knowledge was just limited to one record, which is Viva Terlingua. And there's so much more that I don't know if we've even put anything off that record on here. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you turning me on to that. Well, go ahead. I have other stuff, but
Yeah. No, the last 5 songs are kind of interesting. And they're songs that the Leonard Cohen, that become one of I started putting on Leonard Cohen songs as well. So thanks to Mike. And then of course, the Jerry Jeff Walker we enjoy immensely. The Bryan Adams, it's a song I've never heard, but I thought it had a beautiful message, and that was the one where we had it was about peace, and I thought, wow, where did this song come from? That is such a great song. I wish I had heard it before. Seals and Summer Breeze. Okay. I'll just say, when we make playlists, Dave is the guy usually with the standards. Let's just put it that way. In some
He put it on for me. He's feeling the love, and he's like, I know he's gonna want this, so he might.
Right. And so and I think that perfectly encapsulates sometimes, hey, this is what Dave puts on his playlist sometimes. Songs that we tend to forget that are really good, because when you think you've heard them 1,000 times, but then you haven't heard them for 10 years, and then you revisit them, that you realize, yeah, there's a reason why you heard them 1,000 times when you were growing up. So, and of course, Adele, again, I'm not into Adele. I'm probably the least person who puts on women's songs for the most part, but I've learned come around because of you guys putting on other women's songs. I've started to delve into that more, and we'll talk about those and the other playlists. But yeah, I think the 5 final songs all kind of encapsulate everything that's right about what we do.
yeah, if I could go back, I agree with what you just said. And You Want It Darker, I think there's 2 reasons I put that on, which first off, I really appreciate you guys. Like, we have a couple examples here of songs that were initially put on by somebody picking somebody else's wheelhouse or whatever, something that's more of their kind of thing initially. And You Want It Darker, it's like I do like Leonard Cohen a lot. He was an acquired taste, but he grew on me. But this record I didn't have, and you're right, you put it on that playlist. That was, I think, when the first time I heard it, but maybe the first time I really listened to it. And I read up a little bit about it, and it has to do with fighting in part for Israel, doing things that you don't necessarily, in the name of, I don't know the best way to put this, things that are dark for a cause. And it's a hard subject. And with what's going on right now, of course, that's on my mind. I put it, though, also because Evolve came right before. And so Evolve is kind of a lighter look at stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to contrast that. You want it darker, or you want it dark? We put out the flame, whatever. The other songs, the Bryan Adams, that one still reminds me of the Beatles a little bit, John Lennon solo a little bit. Adele, I'm growing on. She's growing on me a little bit. And then Summer Breeze, I do know that is a oft played song. At least I don't know if you hear much on the radio these days, but it kind of has a special meaning to me. It's like it makes me think of my wife, and I've also my childhood growing up. I can't tell you why little first or second grade Mike was really into that song. But yeah, I like I don't know. I agree. The last 5 songs kind of shows a lot of the ways we've changed and kind of how we're adapting to each other's tastes on here as well.
Well, like I said, it was a great playlist. I appreciate you picking the songs you picked, and again, you know, you can, each of us can say it may not be the best 15 out of our 250, but it's what we do came together to create it. And so for me, it's special. You know, I've listened to it several times already, and you know, down the road or whatever, it'll be one of those ones where we can always just pull it up and go, oh, these were the ones I chose, you know, that I had on my on the playlist, and that Jose and Mike thought were cool enough to put back on another playlist. So I thought that's great. Let's at this point, let's go ahead and transition to the playlist number 48. Then would be the next one, which would be best of Mike's songs. So then Mike got to sit in the seat of starting off the playlist, getting that first song going, and then seeing what Jose and I would put on. So Mike, what do you think of the experience of putting together a playlist for your best of?
Well, actually, it's you use the word cathartic. I guess that would be it's kind of it's touching, you know, when you see what resonated with them, and you know, it would surprise me in some cases, but yeah, it was fun. A little bit of an ego boost, I guess, too, but like I need that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'll just go right into my the first song I put on is probably is if I fall from grace with God by the Pogues. I'm thinking maybe of all the bands that I like that I kind of brought to the table. They've maybe been played the most. I don't know if I did every one of the choices times was mine, but I don't know. But I've definitely put a lot of their stuff on. And this one I just like because it's this is upbeat, you know, it kind of encapsulates, we've used that word a few times today, kind of what they're about, you know. Yeah, they have the darker song, quite a few darker songs, but they have the wild, crazy Shane MacGowan partying, just living life to the fullest. It's like, all right, I'm living this life. It's a life I want to live. If I'm going to burn out, just let me go, you know? And it's just fun. And also like there's a little Zydeco thing there and part of it that I like. We need more Zydeco on these lists. And then you went on let's see. Dad's Gonna Kill Me, Jose. Richard Thompson, another one that I've put quite a few songs on. So what say you, Jose?
Well, let's first start out. Mike's. It's as we will see through the three, and is we all identifies each other's taste in music, and like you said, it's kind of a tribute, and it. Believe me, we all get a little ego boost. We could all use it once in a while, and of course, it's great when someone can identify with what you're preaching, so to speak. You know, and not just poo-pooing everything. Although we'll get to Outlaw Pete soon enough, but but no, turning us on to the Pogues and listening to them, I admit I'm not the Irish kind of loving songs, I think, but once I'm not saying we're forced to listen because we don't have to listen to anything, but when we listen to these playlists, you learn to like them and why people like them, and not just Mike, and why the mass audiences like them, and why we weren't a part of that on the bandwagon back then or ever, you know. And then you learn, yeah, I do like that, and that same goes with Richard Thompson, which sure Dave will agree with me, probably never heard of or never listened to really, but some fantastic songs in that. Dad's Gonna Kill Me. Again, it's one of the war songs, and it's just one of those songs that, man, that's hardcore to listen to. So yeah, and then I kind of knew Dave would probably go with the Steely Dan. He always raves about it. So Dave, take it away.
You know, the first three songs, you know, I agree. I knew Mike would probably start off with something like the Pogues or Elvis Costello or maybe Genesis or something, you know. And so I wasn't surprised when he started off with that. You know, he's played a few different ones already. What I was surprised about, though, was I think when he first turned us on to Richard Thompson, it was that first song, Bees Wings, and we all went, "Oh my God, who's this guy? Where's this song had come from?" Right? And so I had it on the top of my list, and as soon as it probably would have been my first selection on Mike's playlist. But then you, Jose, jumped in and did Dad's Gonna Kill Me, which is another great song. But now I had to scratch Bees Wings off of my list. So there you go, Mike. We had at least two popular Richard Thompson songs we were probably going to go with, and Jose took the first one. With "Don't Take Me Alive," I like a lot of Steely Dan. I probably had heard this song too before, but when you put it on the playlist or whatever, it's like it's one that I don't know what it is about it, but I think it's that guitar solo at the beginning or something, and then I just like the lyrics. I like the song, and I said this will be my place to show appreciation for stuff Mike's been putting on, and so I went with the Steely Dan.
Yeah, just going back, I appreciate that on both these guys. And yeah, if you were, I guess if you added Los Lobos into that short list of things that I'd probably put several songs on. These two as well. These bands, Richard Thompson and Steely Dan. I had Bees Wings on my short list too, but I had exact same words you said. I could say it's like this is one that actually, when it went on the list back in the day, I was like, it's like it wasn't one I was familiar with, but it fit the theme. I mean, I chose it. It fit the theme, obviously, and I actually like it more than before I put it on there. I think just from repeated listen, it's an interesting song. Yeah, Steely Dan. You correctly pointed out, Dave, that I put on most of the songs I put off on were from this album, Royal Scam. We all have our favorite records, and I didn't even really think about it. I was doing it. Asia, that album by them is a great one. I haven't used anything off that, so give it time. But yeah, so I went. Okay, so the next one, the next three, it was Harps and Angels by Randy Newman, Neil and Jack and Me, King Crimson, and Outlaw Pete, which we'll need to set aside about 10 minutes, I think, to talk about. Or at least give Jose time to talk about. Just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, so I haven't put very much Randy Newman on this version of the playlist making. Back in the tape days, I probably put one on every tape I was involved in. I was really into him, but I still like his music, and I appreciate him, the talented for what he is. This songs, the first three are kind of death related, and so Harps and Angels is about a guy who has a near death experience in a comical way, as only Randy Newman can do. And so I thought I'd put that on. Neil, Jack and Me is one of two songs on here from a little 2-day stint of Jose and I going to concerts. The Beat album, which this is off of, by King Crimson. It was most of King Crimson was in this. Well, a couple of King Crimson guys plus some other folks in this show, and it was they did this song, and I love it. And then Outlaw Pete, I'm gonna let you open up Outlaw Pete, and I'll come back and maybe give a rebuttal, maybe not. Either of you, however you want to do it.
Well, I'll let Dave because he picked it. I've already said what I'm going to say about it. I don't need to say, I'm still not sold on it, so that's all I'm going to say.
I don't know what it is about it. That's the thing with me. It's like maybe it's the building thing. Like I said, I like the songs that they start out slow and then they get faster, and they tell a story. I like to tell stories and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not an overly great song or whatever. I like the beat of it. I like how it moves. Hey, there's Bruce Springsteen right there, right in my picture behind me. So I don't know what it is. I just like the song, and Neil and Jack and Me, King Crimson, can't go wrong with that. I will say with the Harps and Angels, that was Mike's first selection on the number 0 first test playlist as well. So here I put on Jerry Jeff, and he put on Randy Newman. Those were our first two selections on that, and we'll get to playlist 3, Jose's, in a minute. But I actually picked his first song that started it all off as well, the Trey Anastasia song. So we put all 3 of our first 3 songs on there. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but
Wow.
Yeah, it's a. I'll come back to Neil Giacomini, like Mike said, it holds, not only is it a great song, but like I said, I got to finally see a concert with Mike again, reconnecting, and that, I think that helped, that's kind of part of this whole playlist, is reconnecting in a sense. You know, we have it in the title, Three Old Friends, and 3 old friends connected to music. Really, it's not just the music, but it has a large part to it. So that's one of the reasons I put it on, is not only is it a great song, but we went to a concert together. It's one of those things that you remember. Hearts and Angels is another one. I thought it went well with "Don't Dad's Gonna Kill Me, Don't Take Me Alive" and Hearts and Angels. Says something about us, I think. I don't know what that says, but dear God, man, no pun intended. So yeah, like I said, Outlaw Pete. I said my piece about Outlaw Pete.
All right, well, I'll go to Outlaw Pete now, since I didn't address that one. You know, it was kind of one of those not rash decision, but something I kind of just like, oh, hey, why not? And I don't know, it's something about it too. I think it, like you said, it's the building and the storytelling. I get it's kind of long and it's a goofy story when you break it down, but it was for a children's book, is my understanding, or at least connected to a children's book. So I think it's kind of, it's like, it's tongue in cheek. It's weird because it's like tongue in cheek. You know, he committed his first crime when he was what, 3 months old, Outlaw Pete, and yeah, but then you have later him having this kind of poignant part about settling down with a woman, but he can't do it because his past catches up to him. So it is strange in that way, that it's like kind of silly, but then kind of really serious, all mixed up. In the end, I guess I just like it. But I understand.
Yeah, it's like the song Christina. It's just, sure, it's a goofy song. It's a guy who's eyeing this woman, but it, like you, probably like Dave, it checks some boxes that we enjoy about songs. And so, we all have those songs. We don't all have to be in love with all of them. And it's not like I turn it off or skip it when it comes on. I listen to it, get a good chuckle out of it, because of course it can be silly, but then at the end it becomes like, oh my God, what, now he's throwing a knife. Okay, anyway, so
speaking of Springsteen, when's his biopic coming up?
yeah, biopic coming out,
No.
Jeremy Allen White. Yeah, it looks all right. I'll see it. It comes out soon. I think it comes out Christmas in December.
I didn't even know there was going to be one, and I just saw a little blurb, and somebody was griping about the casting choice. I'm like, what? Whatever. I mean, okay.
No, he looks like him. He's a good actor.
I didn't get that.
You ever watch The Bear? He's a great actor. So.
I think he was also in that. Did you ever see the movie with? Now we're going off track, but the wrestling movie about the
Right, the Von Erichs.
Von Erichs, was he in that one?
Yeah, he was, and he was good in that as well. Yeah, he's a good actor. So.
Well, I started to watch The Bear, and we made it halfway through an episode. It had nothing to do with the quality of the episode, but we got some distraction. I never came back to it, so it's on my list. I'm watching all my show. Boy, I'm getting way off topic. Never mind. We'll move on from that. Yeah, we don't have 5 hours to do this. So the next 3 were Joe Jackson, Wild West, which is a live song. I'll come back to that in a second. Riva's House off of Kiko by Los Lobos, and Find the River by REM off Automatic for the People. So Wild West, I don't know if there's any others on here, but we have one that, or maybe we did earlier. It's from the archive. It was one from back in the day, and I still do like Joe Jackson, but at the time I was just playing a couple of records of his to death. This one in particular, which is interesting because it is a live album, but mostly I think you don't hear the audience. It's just he had very good recording equipment, and so it sounds like a show, but there were people there. I mean, like a studio recording, but there are people there, and I think you hear a little bit of applause in this one. But I think looking back in that tape that we made back then, that archive one, and I can't remember the name of it now, but it's It's probably my favorite that I put on there. At
Run
least.
DMJ softball.
Softball victory.
That's right. That's right.
Probably one of the best tapes we've ever made.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I do here. Hang on. Messing up my, okay. And then just, hang on, I lost my place. I'm using a script. The Rivas House, that's, Jose picked that one and he can talk more about this, but my understanding is he has bought this record or CD. It's Kiko, which is, I think there's at least 2 or 3 songs on these various playlists from that record. And there was a time in my life in the early 90s, whenever this came out, that I was just like, I listened to that nonstop. I've worked in a kitchen with Spencer Franklin, who we'll probably reference here in a little bit. He contributed to a couple of these playlists. And so that one and the Suzanne Vega record, we just played to death. So I love that one. And then Find the River by REM. That's also probably, when it comes down to it, I think it's probably my favorite. And personally, I think the REM's kind of peak, that Automatic for the People. I know they have a lot of great songs other places. You could argue for other records, but for me, it kind of gelled there, and they have everything. They have the real rocking, and this one is, acoustic, and it just has this great feeling. I know there's some sadness to the song, but yeah. So what do you guys think?
I will say, if you can force me to buy get me to buy their CD, you've done something. Because believe me, I go to Half Price every week. I go to 4 different stores every week. And of course, there's 1,000 selections I can make. But I usually don't, because I try to stay on a budget as much as that. Because believe me, I'd spend hundreds of dollars if I could. But when Mike has played a couple of Los Lobos songs off this album, and there's a couple of songs, and I've even seen Los Lobos, but I never appreciated them until Mike started putting these songs on. So for me to go out and actually buy a CD and get it, it says a lot, and I can't thank Mike enough for that. The Joe Jackson, of course, it just comes from one of the best mixtapes we ever made back in the day. And then REM is REM. I knew REM would find its way on this playlist. I know it was on mine. It was on my song list of songs that I might choose. So yeah, just a lot of 3 great, fantastic songs.
Yeah, I liked all 3 of these ones too, and for the reasons you all stated. Going back to the old vault playlist from the '87 Joe Jackson. I think you did put on another Joe Jackson after that, but I haven't got into the Los Lobos as much as Jose, maybe going out and buying the CD. But that's a Rivas song. Rivas House was on my short list as well, at least in my top 30 of songs I might put on. But then after that, I had another song that I was going to put on. Not that we talk about the ones we don't put on, but I did go with REM, Find the River, because I had mostly the earlier REM stuff, and I think when they came out with this one, I wasn't really, I didn't have this album or whatever. So when Mike put it on the playlist, it was new and fresh to me. It was like, oh, I love this song. This is great. So I wanted to get it back out there. But after the Rivas House, I almost went with the house theme, and I almost went with Sarah Jarosz, Come On Up to the House. Got good after Rivas House, but I went with the Find the River instead. But anyway, good choices, and the playlist is flowing along.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that, Sarah Jarosz. She does make it on here, accompanying David Crosby later. But somebody was kind of,
and Johnny was also right there, so I almost did Johnny.
but it brings something to mind. I'm realizing we can't. I guess we had enough songs on here. We could have done one off each playlist, but there's some that we didn't get, and I'm trying to think, and we may get to it later. the first playlist we did, which was, I chose the theme was strong women. And I really like that playlist. That was maybe before I listened to, was into her or whatever. I don't know. But, are any of these songs from that one? Because I intended to put one on. I'm realizing maybe.
I did one on Jose's, I think, right?
Yeah,
Midnight in Harlem, right? Was off
that's right.
Which one?
Midnight in Harlem off Jose's playlist. I did. those.
Okay, yeah, there you go, there you go. Anyway, I was just kind of curious about that. The next three, there's Taj Mahal, Take a Giant Step, which originally was a Monkees song. It's a cover. I don't know if it was originally, but they did before him. Me and Paul by Willie Nelson, and Car Wheels on the Ground. No, I'm skipping ahead. Without Love by Nick Lowe.
I think you missed Wrapped in Gray.
Wrapped
Oh
in
my
Gray.
gosh, okay. Take two.
Take a Giant Step, Wrapped in Gray, Me and Paul, right?
Right.
Yes, okay, that's what I meant to say. Take a Giant Step, I just mentioned the Monkees did it, but it's a totally different song when he does it. That song's always had a special place for me. And Wrapped in Gray, that's one of the few XTC songs that Rachel likes, my wife. It's just not her kind of thing. But this one, the message, and I'm really curious why you chose that one when we get to it. And then Me and Paul, it's Willie talking about his ups and downs on the road, and Paul English, I guess the name, he's now passed, but his old drummer. Yeah.
I'll address the Wrapped in Gray real quick and say, that was the Colors playlist. And as I've said before on here, we tend to make these playlists, but the ends usually get shortchanged sometimes, because if you're walking or you're on a trip or something, you don't get to listen to the last 3 or 4 or 5 songs. And this was one of the last ones. But for some reason, when you got to that song, man, it stopped you in your tracks. It was just a really good song. Plus, I know Mike has been a huge XTC proponent ever since I've known him, and I couldn't imagine a playlist without XTC on it about Mike. So I just think it's a fantastic song. So,
well, I promised this is exactly what was going to happen. Right before you picked Wrapped in Gray, I had it queued up, ready to go. It was my next selection. And so that's bizarre that it happened. I agree with what you said. It was the last playlist on the Colors. There was a great rap on it. I could have pivoted, at that point to something else. I actually had thought about No Thugs in our house as well, the other XTC song that Mike put on. But I love the Wrapped in Gray. The Taj Mahal's good. Nothing bad about that one. I like that one too. That was on one of the original, or one of the first ones we did as well. That goes way back on that one. And then, with Me and Paul, that's just, I like the Willie Nelson. I like the story. I like the song. I like the guitar coming in the way it does. And so all 3 great songs. But you stole my Wrapped in Gray.
sorry about that. I'll just say, and that happens on a lot of these playlists where we steal each other's songs. I'll just throw that out there. This is probably not the first. Definitely, it won't be the last time that we steal one from each other. But I will say about Me and Paul, not to take anything before you take a giant step. It's a great. Taj Mahal is a legend and everything, and I'm getting to appreciate him more. Because we do get inundated with a lot of music here. But the Willie Nelson for me is just an extension of Dave and Mike playing more country songs, even though I was the one that I think that came up with the country and western idea, only because that's a thing that I've kind of avoided. But when you listen to some of the songs, you realize, man, there's some real talent. Yeah, I'm not going to be listening to new country for whatever reason. Maybe I should, but putting on Willie Nelson and songs like that gives you an appreciation. Like, oh, maybe I should listen to some older country and western, and I do put one on the next one. So,
Were either of you close to putting on The Winner by
I
Bobby.
was, I was, it was there. It was this close. Me, I love that song. But then I thought, I don't know if it really fits. It's not my top 20, but it's there because it's a fun song like Outlaw Pete, like Christina, where it's this kind of holistically silly song, but it's funny, but it's interesting and it has and it has a message to it. So yeah, it's one of those songs that you like to listen to. I mean, it's not the streak or anything, but
I was just leaving, giving you the opportunity there, Dave. Just like with Polizania and a couple other songs. And by the way, since we're on that and we're talking about songs that I put on, I joked about it and when we were singing this stuff back and forth, but I genuinely do like that song, and I got very close to putting it on. I really did. It just I didn't really find the place on this playlist, but got close. So yeah, and then getting close to the end of my, let's see, 3 more off mine, and then we're on to Jose. So now I kind of jumped the gun on this. So Without Love by Nick Lowe was one that I had chosen. Car Wheels on a Gravel Road, Jose, and then by Lucinda Williams. And Dave with Christmas Must Be Tonight by the band. All 3 of those songs I love, and I've listened to so many times. Christmas Must Be Tonight, while it's a Christmas song, I think I could listen to it any time of year and it would still get me, It's something about Rick Danko's voice and I don't know, just the tenderness of the song, about baby Jesus, and then and other stuff. Nick Lowe, Jose and I went to see the same weekend as the King Crimson Beat group thing, and that's I think the first Nick Lowe I put on any playlist. I've done now. There's been 2 or 3 maybe, and I'm surprised that I haven't done more, or I didn't do any back in the day, because he certainly had a big impact on Elvis Costello, produced a lot of his records, and this one is kind of a country song, but it has that Nick Lowe kind of thing to it. You'd have to hear it to know hear his music, know what I'm talking about. I do like the way he does There's No Place I Can Run and There Is No Hiding Place, kind of the way he changes the arrangement a little bit there. And Car Wheels on a Gravel Road, I like me some Lucinda Williams. I've gotten to see her twice. She unfortunately had a stroke a year or 2 ago, but apparently she's kind of learning, getting some of those abilities back and still performing. Going to be in Louisiana, and so her music coming up for one of my son's tournaments. Her music always makes me think of Louisiana. She's from there, so. No, that was the end. That was the end of my playlist. But what do you guys think of that last chunk of songs?
they were all excellent choices. Like I said, the song Nick Lowe again. I'll always equate that to us going to a concert. I think seeing live music together is always great. Lucinda Williams, you converted me. I love that song. I think it's a great song. I would never have said that 2 years ago. I wouldn't even have thought about it 2 years ago. So yeah, it was just a lot of great songs on there, and of course Dave's song. So overall, I thought that it was it was like Dave's. It kind of mirrors how we have listened to music, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the last 3 went real well, and when you were putting them on, it's like I was sitting there going, like, yeah, a Nick Lowe song, and I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. I would have been like, no, I don't know about that. But since we've been exposed to it, and then I knew this is one of his probably the most popular songs he has. But it's like, oh, great. Same thing with the Lucinda Williams. I wouldn't have known her. I wouldn't have been able to pick her out of a lineup or anything, But then whenever Jose says Car Wheels on the Gravel Road, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cool song. So again, that's the beauty of the playlist that we put together. And then for me, I came down to, I had probably 2 or 3 choices at the end to close the playlist. I told you when you put it on, I don't know where I was and why I didn't know that the band had put this song out for a Christmas song, but it was new to me. and I turned it on to my family at Christmas as well, and played it probably 27 times or something like that, and they all loved it too. And so it became a favorite. And like Mike said, it's not even just necessarily a Christmas sounding song, right? You know, whatever, but it's just a great song. But at the very end there, I was so close. I mentioned how close you were to doing maybe one of these other songs I put on. I had the Tom Waits Waiting to Wait. And because the Leonard Cohen is kind of a similar kind of thing, I said, you know, I might close it with Tom Waits Burma Shave. And I know I gave it a lot of crap at the time, but I've listened to it over and over and over again, and I have a great appreciation for that song and for Tom Waits. So at some point, I might make it on another redo playlist or whatever, but it was close.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, it's funny that who probably put the most songs on by the band, didn't put a single band song on
Right.
any playlist. And that, I guess that transitions into my playlist, unless someone wants that for Mike, but transitions into mine. And I myself, you get concerned. You're thinking, what do these guys listen to? Are they really listening? I think that's what it comes down to. Do they really like these songs, or what do they take away from it? And I'll admit, you know, the first three songs, obviously I picked Mountains of Things by Tracy Chapman. And it's just one of my favorite albums of all time. I just love that song. But then when you guys go with The Who, Go to the Mirror and Shattered by the ones, I'm like, you know, that's not what I expected. I didn't think they would go with the standards classics. Because I think, and I must have messaged this, that, you know, when coming up with these playlists, I kind of took the approach of songs that I normally don't listen to, songs that I've been turned on to. And at the same time, you know, but it's interesting that you all go with The Who and with the Rolling Stones, you know, which again, two of my favorites, obviously. So I found it interesting. That's the way that this kind of started out.
Well, maybe that's why, you know, the beauty of the playlist kind of thing. And I wasn't expecting Mike to come in with Rolling Stones afterwards, but we know that, yeah, Jose likes the Who, he likes the Rolling Stones. We all like the Beatles, we like Dylan and Pink Floyd and all that, which none of those made it onto the playlist. So yeah, we could have gone with maybe songs that had surprised us or were new and different. But for me, I said, well, I'm just going to go with the Jose songs that I really just want to hear and that I like. You know, the Tracy Chapman is always great. I've always liked her as well, especially at least the first two albums that she put out had both those. But then there's just something about the Who and that Go to the Mirror. I don't think I own that album with Tom. Was it Tommy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I didn't have that one. So I only listened to it a few times, or when it was on the radio, or when Jose played it. And so when you put it on a playlist, I said, "Nah, I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pluck that classic song and put it on." And then with Mike putting on, they could have picked a lot of different Rolling Stone songs, but Shattered, I think, went good after the Mirror, right? Go to the Mirror and then Shattered. It was kind of a combination of those three. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big reason why I put it on. It just seemed to, you know, we got one British supergroup, throw in another. I do acknowledge what you're saying, though. I mean, not that it was a criticism or anything, but that's one of the great things about doing this is like kind of displaying our knowledge of things that we've turned each other on to. And clearly these three, well, you might not know about Tracy Chapman, but I actually have some memories of this record and this song in particular. I went to Ukraine and, you know, during my college years, and this is like on a loop the whole time I was there. But yeah, the other two, of course, the Who, of course, I was way into the Who, ridiculously so. And then the Stones, I don't know, this one is such a quirky, odd song. But I don't know, it popped into my mind, hey, put that one on. And I'm glad you picked it.
Well, I'm glad you picked Duke. Little secret, Shattered is one of my top 5 favorite Rolling Stones songs. So, you know, of all the songs, it's kind of interesting that one kind of made it, because I had that album for I had Some Girls for the it was one of my first Rolling Stone albums and
Yeah, me too.
formative years. So yeah, and of course the Who. You know, I know how big. It's funny that Dave picks the Who, but I know I associate the Who with Mike because we've talked about him extensively, and he's let me borrow, but his Who albums, and we've talked about him extensively. So yeah, so then then we went on, and with the beauty of these making these playlists is discovery, and as much as we had Jackson Brown and Dave and I listened to Sergio Leone was never on my radar until we decided to make the one playlist about it. And then so Sergio Leone and then Ripple. I knew someone had put I wasn't gonna put the Grateful Dead on, but someone was gonna put the Grateful Dead on. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Well, the boy mañana. Okay, so yeah, so Ripple was I knew someone was gonna put the Grateful Dead on. They had to, they know that I like the Grateful Dead. And of course, same with Fish. I mean, again, I won't go into the Fish spiel, but you know me, the Fish is I'm part of the cult, so it was kind of nice to see that another Fish song showed up.
Yeah,
Um,
if you want to go,
Go
Mike, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're second in line for these. So.
I'd say, yeah, Ripple's just probably my favorite Grateful Dead song, you know that. So I said, well, I gotta hold up the Dead part of it, and I know Jose would appreciate it and like it. The Sergio Leone, when you first put that on, that surprised us all a little bit because we weren't familiar with it, and it had that kind of a long story, epic kind of feel, talking about the filmmaker and everything. So that was a good revisit on that one, and then adding the Fish, a lot of Fish songs could have chose from, but Mike picked Show of Life, and I think at the time when you put it on, I went yeah, or whatever. But in preparation for this, I went back and listened to this whole playlist again, and it fits great right after the Grateful Dead song, and it's just a great Fish song. Maybe I hope they play it. When we go to Folsom.
Yeah. So Sergio Leone, first off, I really like that director. I don't know if any of us will say no, we hate his stuff, but just epic movies. But Jackson Brown, I've listened to his music for a long time. I didn't know this song's existence until this playlist, and so there's a prime example of something that you turned us on to, Jose. Even just like with the Elton John, with the bullet and the gun of Robert Ford. I said it right that time. John Ford would have fit in better there with Sergio Leone, but so Robert Ford, and those are both artists that I knew, but until this, and I mean, it never would have heard it. I've kind of, I haven't really checked into Elton John stuff in a long time, except things I know. So, and I probably think the same thing about Jackson Brown, kind of settled in my ways, which is a good thing about this, because it's like we need to kind of challenge ourselves and each other to expand our taste. I mean, I think there's some Drake on here, not here, but on some of our playlists. There's a number of things that I wouldn't, Adele, Billie Eilish, I wouldn't have on my own sought them out, but now I have an appreciation. They're a lot deeper than I got, from what I heard on my own. So that I appreciate. Ripple, I could probably sing the song to you right now. You wouldn't want me to, but I know I've heard it so many times, and it is. It's for me. It's also a really poignant song because it's probably been at other services, but I went to a funeral or memorial service for the kid of the son of a couple that I knew from back in the day, and I don't know if you know who Jimmy Dale Gilmore is. He's done a lot of. He's a Texas guy. He's from the group from Lubbock, include Joe Ely and those guys. Anyway, he covered this song. Oh, he was in The Big Lebowski when John Goodman's character pulls out the gun in the bowling alley and shoots it.
Yeah.
He's the one that's like, calls him to task for it and reports him. That's Jimmy Dale Gilmore. Anyway, he did this song, he performed that at the funeral, and so it's taken on a new meaning for me. And then Show of Life I picked because, well, I'm now, I can't say really getting into Fish because I'm sure my knowledge of him is just a microscopic amount compared to you, Jose. But this is one of the songs that you put on that I've gotten to know about them. And I also had I'm talking too much of it. I think I had a bias before I started listening to them because of this stuff and the concert coming up, hopefully. I thought of them as like, well, they're kind of an intellectual band. They're kind of, I don't know, they do trippy stuff. It's all kind of lighthearted. I had no idea about these guys. And it's like this song, it's like, it touches on the human condition, things that we all can relate to, maybe the toils of life and things. And it like really resonated with me, as do some others that I've been listening to the last couple of weeks. I understand are from talking to Jose are more well-known songs that I didn't know, but yeah, so.
Yeah, it's I'm sure I'll impart more fish knowledge on y'all as y'all get to learn it. Again, it's one of those things. And then we skip over to, and again, like I said, again, I approach this with the learning new material, and we go to the women's portion of apparently of my playlist when we go with Billie Eilish, Bury a Friend, Midnight in Harlem by Tedeschi Trucks Band, and Amy Winehouse. And Amy Winehouse and Billie Eilish, believe me, were never on my radar 2 years ago. But because of these playlists, they are now. And man, there's some really good songs. Again, Billie Eilish is an acquired taste. I'm not running out to go to her concerts anytime soon, but who knows? She's passed on, just like, and no one put on her, but Lady Gaga is the same thing. You come to appreciate it. And I've said this numerous times, just because we don't listen to them, there's a reason why millions of people do. And, you got to give it a chance sometimes. And I'm glad Dave picked Tedeschi Trucks. They're one of my favorites. Obviously, I think Derek Trucks is one of the best guitarists around, and Tedeschi, and they're just a great all-around band. So, it's funny again that my playlist gets the most women on it, even though I probably wouldn't. That probably wouldn't have happened back in the day for sure.
Bury a Friend is still creepy. Still kind of that way, but it's a cool song. Made it on our Halloween playlist. And you're right. Would never have been exposed to that. So it's good that you were doing the songs that you hadn't, listened to all that much, or they were kind of new and fresh for you. So it's kind of good that Jose and Mike and I picked some of the classic songs that you kind of put on there to turn us on to that you like, because then it makes your playlist balanced between the newer stuff that's there and the classic stuff that we know you like. And Tedeschi Trucks was one of those ones early on. I think it was on that Strong Women playlist that we put together, but just a phenomenal track. So I was looking for an opportunity to put it on there. And then the Amy Winehouse as well. We've talked about that too, tragically she died early, and but she has such a sultry voice as well that all three of these women really stand up strong with these three songs. So it was good that we had put those three in a row.
And the Billie Eilish, same here. It's like I've said this already, but it is a haunting song. It is, well, creepy is maybe, I don't know. I don't want that to be a dismissive word, because it's clearly she knows what she's doing. Her music. I was really, okay, I said this sort of, but when you're kind of, I don't want to say made to listen to it, but it's on the playlist, so you're gonna listen to it to know what you're going to talk about and get to know the music and just listen to it because you listen to it. And it's easy to dismiss. She has that kind of certain voice that maybe not everybody would listen to necessarily unless they got to know it. And the lyrics are really, really good. And so it's I want to check out more of her stuff. I haven't yet. But I know from listening to this song that it's something I should. And I know that I'll find something in there eventually. I'll be like, oh man, this is it for me. This is a great song. And that's kind of Midnight for Harlem. That's kind of like that. I love the groove in that song. You know, it's you know down, but it's really good. And I'm surprised I didn't listen to these guys more because there's connection to Allman Brothers, right?
Yeah, Derek Trucks, the Almond.
Right. Right. And so I listened to the Allman Brothers before I knew you guys. And anyway, and then Amy Winehouse, I would have said the same thing. It's like you never would have thought that would be something I'd listen to. But there's something about this album, and maybe it's because she was soon to die, that a couple of songs on here really kind of like in light of that, they really are moving. Strangely, Rehab, which is kind of an upbeat song, and if you didn't listen to the lyrics, it's like that's cool. But it's dark given what happened. Love is a losing game. I still dig on that song so much. Yeah, I hadn't heard it before you put it on, Jose, and it's strangely enough, when I was listening to it the other day, I'm like, this almost sounds like it had been arranged by John Barry, who did a lot of the James Bond theme songs. In addition to the main, we think of James Bond, a lot of the other stuff has that kind of mysterious thing, but the message is like, wow, this person writing the song, even if it's not her per se about her completely, it's like that's some hard stuff. Love is a losing game. So yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those surprises. One of y'all would put Amy Winehouse on. I didn't think, again, I'm one of those who's new to the game there. So, to put it on, again, it's like Mike said, it's kind of a ego boost. Like, yeah, they don't mind, we don't mind each other exposing each other to new songs and taking chances sometimes. And, we do that on occasion. I think there's another song that comes on later that I'll talk about. But, the next three, funny, is I'm Alive by Willie Nelson, which I just kind of discovered out of the blue. And then I Never Needed You Like This Before. That's actually, I've only heard of Fish do it, but it comes off Trey Solo. So, and then Please Don't Bury Me by John Prine, which if you look at all three of the titles of those songs, it's kind of interesting. And again, like Amy Winehouse, John Prine was something that I wasn't privy to. He's been everyone, that's the in crowd, so to speak, the Bill Murrays, all the musicians just love John Prine. Passed away, a couple of years ago. And so that was one of me forcing myself to, what's going on here? What do I need to learn about this? And so I was kind of happy that Mike put that on there. I Never Needed You Like This Before. That was actually, Dave points this out, was the very first song, and a little Fish tribute. That was the first song they played when they came back from one of these tours just recently, and it's just really a great song. And I think it kind of encapsulates at the moment that when I moved here, how I felt, and so, and why this became a thing, and then of course I'm Alive by Will Nelson. Well, you just gotta appreciate that I'm alive, and you gotta keep saying that, you can't get too down on yourself. So that's why I love that song.
Yeah, I liked all three of these ones, and like I said, with Willie Nelson, it's just a matter of time. I mean, he's Father Time always wins, but he's 91 now or something, and so that's a cool song. We got to keep playing it so that he can stay alive. And maybe we need to play the Bee Gees "Staying Alive" as well. So, but then I went with the Trey song because I knew you liked it, and again I purposefully I said, hey, this will be Mike put on Harps and Angels, and I put on Woman in Texas. So let's start with those top three, and we put all of our first three songs that started this whole thing. And man, what a great thing it's been for 2 years that we've been building these playlists and talking about the music and, but more importantly, just coming back together and rekindling old friendships and um, through our love of music and turning each other on to music. And I agree on the John Prine thing too. It's like I dabbled in it. I heard a couple songs, but since we've been doing the playlist, we've put a few of his songs on there and realized how great he is. And he didn't get a lot of attention and notoriety. He wrote songs for other people, and but when you talk to the artists in the industry, they all revere him. They all say, "Oh man, John Prine, yeah, he was everything." But yeah, we were oblivious to it at the time because he wasn't charting or he wasn't, doing all that. So anyway, great three songs. What do you think?
Yeah, going backwards a little bit, starting with John Prine. I agree. It's funny. People that I know that are like kind of, I won't say music snobs, but they have their tastes and they're like, this is good music, that stuff, and it's marginal, whatever. And I don't know one of them that hasn't said John Prine isn't like up in the pantheon of, folk musicians or what have you. And I don't really know much about his music, but this one, the song's a crack up. It's like this guy's going on, and it's his perspective getting there. Don't bury me. I forget what all he wants to have. Get my knees to whatever. Get my nostrils to anyway. That's not what he said. I've never needed you like this before. I've just talked about Fish and Trey Anastasio, part of that, and I have yet to hear a Fish song I don't like, and this is no exception. So I'm looking. Maybe at the show I'll turn to you and say, what is this crap? But so far, nope. And
I almost put on the other trade. Is it called Let It Lie or
Let it lie.
what is it called?
Let it lie. Let me lie.
Right, about the
Gonna ride my
bicycles,
bike.
riding the bike.
Yeah.
I almost put that one on, but I went with this one because it was the first one we played.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike, didn't mean to cut you off.
no, that's fine. And then the Willie song, yeah, it's hard to listen. I'm Alive, which is a really good song. First off, that guy can write and perform. Yeah, his voice is getting really shaky, but at his age, you guys have said this, but it's just astounding. And I think it is his life. He has family and friends and everything, but it's like recording music and particularly touring, which he's only recently had to scale back and drop out of some things, getting into his 90s. I think his health is getting, progressively worse. And on that subject, I saw the other day, I think I put it on our little chat. Richard Thompson fell down some stairs and I think fractured some vertebrae and stuff. So he seemed to be in good spirits about it, the message he put up. But it just shows you gotta appreciate these guys, while they're here. But when they're gone, the music's still gonna be here. Even when Willie's not alive, he's still gonna be alive. In this music. So yeah, that's such a great message on that song. It's very positive. Um,
And then wrapping it all up, the last three songs are songs that, again, I hadn't heard in ever before we started these playlists. So I think it was kind of great that it kind of wraps it up for me because it kind of, again, shows why I love doing this so much and why I love being turned on to new music. And obviously David Crosby, I Won't Stay for Long. I discovered that song as on one of his solo albums. Just thought that was such a beautiful song. And then Winter Winds, Mumford and Sons. I think that was one of our winter ones. And I discovered that song. I was like, man, what a powerful song. I had heard of Mumford and Sons, but never delved into them. And of course, Childish Gambino, which again was one of the surprises because I don't think that was as warmly received when I first put it on for our summertime one. So that one was one like, oh, did I make a misstep there? So I was kind of glad that it kind of made an appearance on it. So Dave, what'd you think of the wrap up?
Well, I would say I love the David Crosby. Is that the one that has the Sarah Jarosz on it, or?
No,
Actually, I think I misspoke earlier. That was the cover for free, which is the same record.
Oh,
is.
that's
No,
right.
my bad, my bad.
Okay, well, the winner wins. You mentioned, the war playlist. The cold winter cold is probably one of my top playlists. And there's so many great songs on that one that I had to pick one. And so it's either Winter Winds by Mumford and Sons, or I was going to even do the Winter Valley song. By Fountains of Wayne. I mean, I love both those songs right back to back. And so I went with the Mumford and Sons one, Winter Winds. I love the David Crosby stuff as well. The message of that song. Summertime Magic, yeah, it's not my favorite one, but I can see why Mike picked it. And coming off the winter song and then going to the summer song, kind of ended it pretty good with the playlist. But all three of them were new and fresh songs that we hadn't heard before. So it was a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah, going backwards again on these summertime magic. I like Childish Gambino. I won't go into the whole story again, but he's also an actor, and this is his stage name. I thought he was giving it up, but now I've heard he's continuing with it. And this record, I think it may be an EP, or it's like there's a few summer related songs, and this is one I didn't know till you put it on, Jose. There's another one. It feels like summer, or looks like summer, something like that, which is just this great summertime groove. And if you hadn't put this one on, I guess that must have been a summer playlist. I would have put that on, and it may, if we do one this year, my one that I mentioned will probably go on there. But Summertime Magic, yeah, that's a cool one. It surprised me that you were into that. Why not? Of course you'd like it. It's good music. Mumford and Sons, I didn't know anything about. It's a lot better. Okay, honestly, it's another one. I have like a bias without even hearing them. I hear the name Mumford and Sons, and I think it's just something whatever. And no, it's really good. It has that. If they're not, I don't guess they're Irish, but it kind of has that kind of sound, to it. And horns, right, and some. My heart says no, or I'm not even gonna try the lyrics. And then David Crosby, that one, I also, again, I guess this is his last album. And I remember when you put this one on, I remember it was just really sad. I mean, I guess did you put this on like for the In Memoriam
I
song?
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very appropriate because it is somebody contemplating mortality, like maybe I'm sure there's a lot of, this is my take on it, very, very close to the end. It sounds like, I think I said this at the time, it sounds like somebody who knows he's just about there. He's just about through with his race, and which turned out he was. It wasn't much longer after that, but overall, I love this. I love all of these, but you're Jose, and you too, Dave. I mean, the things you guys turned me on to, and then the appreciation you showed through picking my songs that you like, just means the world to me.
Yeah, like I said, I think all of us are in agreement that this has been a project that we love starting and we love to continue. We get a lot out of it. I think we are lucky to have each other to bounce music off of. Let's face it, ain't a lot of people out there that listen to the way music we listen to. Sure, we all have a variation of how we listen to what we listen to. We have a lot of exterior factors of but it's funny how this has become some of the way we have learned to listen to music in the last 2 years, really. It's kind of been our private radio station, so to speak. Public, I guess, because people can always listen to it. But it's so much fun, and it does conjure up memories from the past when we did this before. Back then it was so much harder to do. Now we do it, and it's so much easier. But it's so just as fulfilling as it's always been. To to get new music, to get old music, just to have that fellowship together is really what I think this is all about.
Well, we talked about maybe going back 50, it's coming up on playlist 50, so we might go back 50 years and do 1975. It would be really interesting, maybe at the end of the year, to do music of 2025 and see if us old guys, could pick cool songs from this year, or from last year or something.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I'd like to mention, I don't know, the elephant in the room, but there were a couple of playlists. There were 4 of us doing this, and I'd just like to give a shout out to Spencer's contributions. Spencer Franklin, he was on 2 playlists. It was I have him down here as 4x4 and Fools for the City.
Okay.
I take credit for that. I think the one that came up with that cheesy title. But yeah, I mean, he had like Patty Griffin, which I knew from back in the day working with him in a kitchen. He loved her music, and I really like the Phoebe Bridger song. I mean, there's some good stuff there. So I just wanted to give he also had, I guess, Tom Waits, not gonna object to that. 10,000 Maniacs.
Yeah, I would have put the Henrietta, Indiana song on if we were paying homage to Spencer.
Yeah.
We need more guests sometimes in the future. We need, it's always nice to get a different perspective and to, get music from them. So.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Well, guess we'll wrap it up.
Right.
Been a fun ride, Dave. Last words?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks for everybody. And again, I think it was good way to take a little bit of a trip down our recent memory lane.